ethics. It's a word we hear all the time, right? But if you had to pin it down, what would you say it really is? It can be a surprisingly slippery concept. So let's build a really practical understanding of what ethics is, and just as importantly, what it isn't.
But before we go any further, just take a second. When you hear the word ethics, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Is it a list of rules, a gut feeling, maybe a religious code? Whatever it is, hold on to that thought because we're about to put it to the test.
Chances are your answer fell into one of these buckets. These are the usual suspects. But here's the thing. As we're about to see, every single one of these popular ideas about ethics kind of falls apart under pressure. So let's start clearing things up.
All right, first up, this idea that ethics is just a simple list of don'ts. It sounds nice and easy, but the real world is, well, it's rarely that clean, is it? I mean, think about it. From a young age, we learn these super simple rules. Don't lie. Don't steal. But what happens when life throws you a curveball? A situation where those rules crash right into each other, where following one rule leads to an absolute disaster.
In this example, wow, it just hits the nail on the head. The rule says, do not lie. But in this scenario, lying isn't just an option, it is clearly the most ethical choice you can make because it saves human lives. This shows us right off the bat that ethics can't be about blindly following rules. It requires judgment. It requires context. So, if ethics isn't just a simple rulebook, what else isn't it? Let's keep clearing the deck and get rid of a few more of these common mix-ups.
A lot of people seem to think that ethics is basically just about sexual morality. But in reality, sex doesn't really present any unique ethical problems. The principles that matter there, things like honesty, consent, concern for the other person, are exactly the same principles that apply to every other part of life.
Next up, the big one, the idea that you need religion to be ethical. Philosophers have been poking holes in this for centuries. Plato famously asked this brilliant question: is an action good because God says it is, or does God say it's good because it is, in fact, good? If it's the second one, well then goodness is a standard we can all figure out through reason, whether we're religious or not.
Okay, what about culture? Maybe what's right for you is just what your culture says is right. Well, if that were strictly true, we could never ever criticize another culture's practices. We couldn't look at a society that practiced slavery and say that it was wrong. We could only say it was different. Real moral progress, real debate, it all becomes impossible.
And finally, there's the idea that ethics is all just subjective. It's just your opinion. But if saying stealing is wrong really just means I don't like stealing, then what's the point of arguing? If we both have opposing views, we're both right, and the whole conversation becomes totally meaningless. We're just talking about our feelings.
Okay, so we've torn down all the things ethics isn't. So where does that leave us? What then is it? Well, the answer starts with one core idea: the test of justification.
This right here is the bedrock. To live ethically is to be able to answer the question, why are you doing that? It's the simple practice of giving reasons for your actions, of being able to defend them. Someone who just acts without being able to explain why isn't really acting ethically, even if what they did happened to be good.
But, and this is a huge but, not just any reason will do. There's a catch. If your justification boils down to because it's good for me, well, I'm sorry, but that's not an ethical reason. An ethical justification has to go beyond pure, simple self-interest.
Shakespeare actually gives us the perfect example. Macbeth knows that killing the king is wrong, and when he thinks about why he's going to do it, he admits his only real reason is his own vaulting ambition. He can't offer an ethical defense for it, just a selfish one, and in that moment, he knows he's stepping outside the bounds of ethics entirely.
So if our justification can't just be about ourselves, what's left? Well, that leads us directly to the second great pillar of ethical thinking. We have to move beyond the self and learn to think universally. What this really means is that for a reason to count as ethical, it has to be a reason that could be valid for anyone, not just for you or your family or your country. It forces you to step outside your own point of view and find a perspective that anybody, in theory, could agree with.
And what's so cool is that this is not some new idea, not at all. It's like a golden thread woven through thousands of years of philosophy and religion. The golden rule, Kant's categorical imperative, the veil of ignorance, they're all different ways of getting at the same core idea. Real ethics demands you step out of your own shoes. And here's what that actually means for us in practice. Thinking universally means you have to accept that your own wants and needs don't get special priority just because they belong to you. From a truly ethical point of view,
Everyone's interests have to be weighed equally.
All right, so we have our two main ingredients, justification and universality. Let's put it all together and see where this path of reasoning actually leads us.
So let's just trace the logic here, step by step. 1. Ethics says we have to justify our actions. 2. That justification can't just be about us. It needs to be universal. 3. A universal viewpoint forces us to count everyone's interests the same. And 4. Once you start weighing everyone's interests equally, you naturally land on an approach that tries to create the best possible outcome for the largest number of people. And that's the core of utilitarianism.
Now, it's really important to say, this doesn't mean utilitarianism is the one and only answer. Think of it more like a logical starting point, a kind of minimal first base foundation. Other really crucial ethical ideas, like individual rights or justice, can then be built on top of this universal foundation.
So here's the real takeaway. Ethics isn't a fixed set of answers. It's a method of reasoning. It's a process that challenges us to justify what we do from a viewpoint that considers everyone. And that leaves us with a pretty tough question to chew on. When you really examine your own deeply held beliefs, which of them actually pass that test? Which of them can truly be justified from a universal point of view?